really know what
you're dodging the question that we asked you, which was, what are you talking about with his personal issue?
How about behested payments, which is something that the Washington Free Beacon has done good reporting.
Okay, so
I'm trying to answer your question.
I didn't ask you a question. So,
look, I think
profits
you just
to
said that they were
donors
legal. Did you
a
just
legalized form of pay-to-play?
Okay, so then why are we even
corruption.
talking about it? Because you just acknowledged that it's legal.
According to California's system.
Okay.
Well, he's the governor of California.
What's the point?
And we have no
illegal?
What is the point of having a pay-to-play relationship?
The problem with MAGA is anything that Donald Trump and his DOJ does, they will always try and legitimize it. And in this clip, we are literally going to see a MAGA Republican on CNN's Newsnight with Abby Phillips try and say that this investigation into Gavin Newsom is legitimate and it has some form of legitimacy. But the CNN panel, in particular Charles Blow, is not having it. As usual, let's watch the clip in full and I'll give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
Tonight, California's Governor Gavin Newsom says that the Department of Justice is investigating his family. In a video posted to social media, Newsom said that the move is politically motivated.
Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president, because he hates that I've consistently called him out over and over again for his lies and deceit. Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. One by one, anyone who has challenged Donald Trump has ended up on his hit list. And today, I proudly join that list. If they can't intimidate me, they'll go after the mother of our children. Donald Trump picked the wrong target. We have nothing to hide.
Well, this is the most unorthodox presidential candidate announcement
CNN.
I've ever heard.
A source tells CNN that there's no investigation directly into the governor, but DOJ is leading probes into people connected to him, including his wife, over possible tax-related crimes. The source says that DOJ's political leadership was not involved in the investigation's origin, but had instead been prompted by whistleblower reports last year. CNN reached out to the FBI for comment, and the Justice Department declined to comment. Anna, you were saying unconventional presidential announcement.
Unconventional presidential announcement. Listen, Newsom's going to be out of office in 6 months. There's actually an issue that came up in the gubernatorial primaries, and it involves a former Newsom chief of staff who, follow me here, committed fraud and stole campaign funds from Javier Becerra, who is now the gubernatorial candidate frontrunner to be the next governor of California. I have this weird suspicion and inkling that if Donald Trump and his DOJ, which I believe is weaponized against his enemies, can do anything to somehow revive that and tie it to Becerra to try to cause him harm, they will try to do that. But the prosecutors have said, the DOJ have said already that Becerra was the victim in that case. It was his campaign funds that were stolen, but they were stolen by a former chief of staff of
Dana Williamson.
Of Newsom.
The alleged activity was before she worked for Newsom. Right. So it really doesn't touch Newsom at all. However, his wife is a different story. And I guess the real allegation here is that the feds are basically searching for a crime. They're pulling documents at random, going through them, talking to people, just trying to find something. This CNN's reporting says that Newsom's office said the federal agents have contacted people at organizations connected to both the governor and his wife and conducted interviews related to years of personal and professional activity. The office said it believes subpoenas have been sent based on what was asked in the interviews, but it has seen no proof. There was a recent flurry of activity related to the probe in recent weeks. What do you make of it, Charles?
You might want to go to the next person because I don't know what to make of this story because, there was a line in the New York Times story where one of the California prosecutors said that it was initiated by their offices, not by the feds. Yeah. So it's not clear to me what's true here, if you clear out all the smoke, where the fire is. It is unfortunate that the president has gone after his political enemies because that is always a suspicion. But right now it's just a suspicion. And what Newsom says, and we have to figure out what the facts are beyond those two things.
You know what? It's hard to imagine that a guy who's been fantasizing about running for president as long as Newsom has would be reckless enough to not have crossed every T, dotted every I, particularly knowing that Donald Trump weaponizes his government against his enemies and would not have, been very judicious about things like tax filings of him and his family.
Well,
you're saying that you find it hard to believe that Gavin Newsom hasn't been or wouldn't have been reckless?
Their taxes are publicly available.
I mean, I think his
They're
years
all
of
publicly
personal
available.
judgment would indicate otherwise.
Anybody in our politics hasn't been reckless. I mean, there are plenty of instances of people not crossing their T's and dotting their I's.
What is the personal reference you talking about?
Look, he's had all sorts of
He married Donald Trump Jr.'s.
I want to hear this.
Look, I think Gavin Newsom is not under investigation according to our reporting. There was a local whistleblower. That's the local office that's looking into it. Some people have also said this investigation may actually date back to the Biden years. And I kind of agree with you. Beyond that, I don't really know anything
You're dodging the
else.
question we asked you, which was, what are you talking about with his personal issue?
How about behested payments, which is something that the Washington Free Beacon has done good reporting.
Okay. So I
I'm trying to answer your question.
I didn't ask you a question. So,
Look, I think Gavin Newsom's had, a career that has exhibited questionable judgment in office and in his
are you
personal
able to
life.
articulate what these are?
I think you can criticize a record and someone's management of a state. I think that's different than going after and weaponizing the DOJ against their family. And they have publicly released their tax filings. They're available
What if his
online
record in
to see. But
governing
hold
the
on,
state
hold on.
has been
What I would
the
say
subject
about
of the
what I would say about
DOJ's
this
inquiry?
is to Charles's point.
Well, that's not
is
the
we don't
subject of
have
the DOJ.
we don't have a lot of
do we know
information
that?
Well,
about this.
they've said that they're not investigating him.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so it's not.
So it
I
might
mean,
be into his activities, right?
They just
No,
they're
no,
not
it's not
investigating
his-
him.
It's not him. It's not his
Yeah, I
activity.
mean, as far as we know, from what we know, it is apparently not related to him personally, or him in terms of his own individual activity. So I mean, look, if it were related to his actions as governor, I mean, that would be a fairly easy thing to
Well, we should
confirm or
explain what
deny,
behested
so.
payments are and what they do in California. They're essentially a legalized form of pay-to-play, where the governor can come forward and point to specific nonprofits.
You just
to
said that they
elite
were
donors,
legal?
and
Did you
a
just say-
legalized form of pay-to-play?
Okay, so
yes,
then why are we
legalized
even
corruption.
talking about it? Because you just acknowledged that it's legal.
According to California's system.
Okay.
But he's the governor of
So then
California.
what's the point?
And we have no
What's the
idea.
illegal?
What is the point of
I don't
having a
think he's not
pay-to-play
wo-
relationship with
What
your
is
donors?
what is
If you
illegal
are-
activity?
If you are rewarding
if
your
prosecutors
donors
prosecute-
behested payments
Number
to your wife's
one, those activities are
with
legal, and number
political
two, he's not
favors.
under
Excuse me,
investigation.
if you are then in turn, the payments may be legal, but if you are handing out favorable political
This argument doesn't
treatment
make sense.
following,
Not at all.
It's just so
He's not
stupid.
under investigation, and the payments are legal. What are we talking about?
What's he
Okay,
talking
all
about?
right. We're gonna leave that one.
I think we still
The
gotta
U.S.
finish.
fighter hurls an insult at the former First Lady.
So, did you guys see what just happened there? First and foremost, let me start with the last guy, the Republican on the panel. Is he okay? It's a legalized form of pay to play. The keyword there being legalized. This is the extent that MAGA will go to try and justify anything that Donald Trump and his Department of Justice do. It makes absolutely no sense. It's legalized. It's legal. So say what it is that you want. And then when you put on top of the fact that it's not even Gavin Newsom who's being investigated, what are we doing here? This is why I always say not everything MAGA have to try to defend, because this didn't need defending. You sound and you look dumb. And then lastly, Scott Jennings. The geezer should be ashamed of himself. What he tried to do, and he was insinuating things about Gavin Newsom's personal life. Now look, anyone can do some research and look into Gavin Newsom's personal life. But the fact that the guy who is paid a crazy amount of money to juggle Donald Trump's balls in his mouth has the audacity to question someone's personal life. And I believe that's what Charles Blow was getting at. He didn't get into it because, as you saw, Scott tried to dodge the question and then they moved the panel on. But I believe that that is what Charles Blow was going to get into. These guys should be ashamed of themselves, because at every turn, when they find themselves defending this president, they find themselves being hypocrites. Because if you want to talk about people's personal life, well, there's no worse person than Donald Trump. There's no worse a person than Donald Trump, especially in his personal life. So the fact that Scott Jennings wants to talk about Gavin Newsom's the way he does things and questioning how he conducts himself, well, that should not be a question that is asked. when you spend all your time defending Donald J. Trump? Let me know what you guys think on this segment down in the comment section below. See you guys in the next one.